Welcome to the Pregnancy Help News Brief. I'm Lisa Bourne, Managing Editor of Pregnancy Help News. Here's a look at some of this month's top stories. The pervasive harm of abortion continues to play out, as reported in a number of news articles this past month. A new Colorado clinic is offering third trimester abortions for any reason a woman has. Planned Parenthood is closing 7 of its California primary care facilities, but will continue committing abortions at those sites. Ohio State Medical Board has suspended the license of a doctor who allegedly forced abortion pills upon his patient and pregnant girlfriend. Stories celebrating life this past month included a former abortion worker who now offers life-affirming health services, and numerous articles covering Heartbeat International's Babies Go to Congress and a tertiary briefing hosted by the Office of Public Liaison on the White House grounds. Now let's take a closer look at this month's top stories. Pro-life groups were disheartened to hear that an all-trimester abortion clinic has opened to fill the void left by abortionist Dr. Warren Hearns retiring after 50 years of performing late-term abortions in Boulder, Colorado. The Rise Collective began scheduling appointments for late-term abortions in October. The abortion facility becomes one of an estimated 5 U.S. facilities offering abortions up to 34 weeks. About 93% of U.S. abortions are performed before 13 weeks gestation, and about 1% occur after 21 weeks, according to CDC data from 2022. Babies born at 28 weeks gestation have a survival rate of 80 to 90%, while those born at 34 weeks have the same long-term health outcomes as babies who are delivered at full term, or 40 weeks, according to the University of Utah Health. It should be noted that not even Planned Parenthood does late-term abortions. Planned Parenthood announced in October it will be closing 7 of its primary care facilities in California due to federal funding restrictions, but says it will continue committing abortions at these locations. Planned Parenthood describes closing locations as primary care facilities, which provide wellness visits, vaccinations, diabetes management, and behavioral health services. However, it said the federal defunding won't impact its abortion operations because abortions there are funded by California taxpayers through state funds. Therefore, the facilities in these 7 Planned Parenthood California locations will remain open for abortions. Planned Parenthood closing these primary care centers while maintaining its abortion operations indicates that its priorities lie with abortion over its primary care services. As of its most recent annual report, Planned Parenthood's largest revenue source by far is government reimbursements totaling $792 million in taxpayer funding. Ohio State Medical Board has suspended the license of a doctor who allegedly physically forced crushed abortion pills under the lip of his pregnant girlfriend, who was also a patient. The Ohio Medical Board notice of suspension sent November 5th to Dr. Hassan James Abbas said there is clear and convicting evidence he violated Ohio law, and his continued practice presents a danger of immediate and serious harm to the public. Abbas is a surgery resident at the University of Toledo who separated from his wife in October of last year and began a sexual relationship with another woman. On December 7, 2024, Abbas's girlfriend told Abbas she was pregnant, and he told her to get an abortion, which she refused. Abbas ordered abortion pills the next day from an out-of-state telemedical abortion provider using his estranged wife's name, date of birth, and driver's license number. Abbas is accused of holding his girlfriend down in his home and forcing a crushed powder inside her bottom lip beside her gums. The suspension notice says she scratched and shoved Abbas to escape and called 911, but he hung up the call. Abbas's girlfriend drove to the emergency room. where she was diagnosed with vaginal bleeding, and the hospital listed her as an assault victim whose sexual partner had forced an unknown powder into her mouth after she told him of a positive pregnancy test. The University of Toledo Medical Center said that Abbas has been placed on administrative leave. More than a half-dozen men have been accused of spiking their girlfriends' or wives' drinks or food with abortion pills since 2021, when the FDA temporarily relaxed the in-person requirement during the pandemic. The rule change was made permanent in 2023. Pro-life and pregnancy help advocates say that allegations such as these against Abbas are proof of the dangers posed by the FDA decision to remove the requirement for an in-person doctor visit to obtain chemical abortion pills. The Pennsylvania House Judiciary Committee voted in October to advance 7 bills that protect, grow, and subsidize the abortion industry. All 7 bills aim to thwart any effort to disrupt the pro-abortion agenda. These bills include provisions such as moving the legal gestation limit for abortion from 24 weeks to full term, as well as amendments that shield abortion providers from criminalization when providing abortion to women outside the state. House Bill 670 is one that will impact the pregnancy help movement directly because the wording could be exploited to target pregnancy help. These bills are expected to have a chance of making it to the House floor anytime before 2026. Pennsylvanians are encouraged to contact their legislators and ask them to stand up for life and for pregnancy centers. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, or ACOG, has published a statement on so-called self-managed abortion. While the statement produced by one of ACOG's internal committees purports to present the reality of today's abortion landscape, it fails to include either the total number of abortions performed annually in the U.S. or the estimated percentage of abortions attributable to chemical abortion drugs. Dr. Lloyd Holm writes in a commentary piece how ACOG deftly deflects the known and previously presented risks associated with these drugs by ignoring them altogether and stating, without supporting data, that the greatest risk of harm related to self-managed abortion comes from the threat of criminalization. Dr. Holm explains as well how ACOG presents and discusses a harm reduction approach to reduce maternal morbidity and mortality related to self-managed abortion, in a subtle attempt to mollify and massage the known risks of DIY abortion. The irony is rich, Dr. Holm says, and only a fool would think that the greatest harm from DIY abortion is criminalization rather than maternal mortality. The committee statement is in reality a roadmap for medical providers to assist women in avoiding criminalization, says Dr. Holm, potentially placing patients at risk and putting healthcare providers at odds on a collision course with their state board of medical examiners. Dr. Dermot Carney faced an aggressive pro-abortion mob chanting obscenities earlier this year when he was invited to speak about abortion pill reversal in the UK on campus by the University of Manchester pro-life students group. The University of Manchester had a reputation for not being welcoming to pro-life voices, Dr. Carney said. Still, he was prepared for respectful debate. Readers and listeners may know that Dr. Carney was threatened by his government's medical council with the loss of his medical credentials in 2021 for assisting women in reversing their chemical abortions. He ultimately prevailed and regularly speaks about APR. The Abortion Pill Rescue Network is managed by Heartbeat International and has assisted women in 98 other countries and all 50 states in the U.S. The APRN has seen a 30% increase in reversal starts in the latest fiscal year. Heartbeat is the subject of lawsuits brought by abortion-supportive state attorneys general in California and New York concerning sharing information about APR. When Dr. Carney arrived at the venue in Manchester, he and the student pro-life group could hear the chants of protesters. One protester shouted his name as he approached and then shouted an obscenity in Dr. Carney's face. There were roughly 75 people demonstrating, blocking the entrance of the university building so Carney and the others could not enter the building. 3 of the pro-life students were already in the building but could not get out. They waited for backup police to support the few officers present, but none arrived. Another man ran up and claimed what Carney was doing was dangerous to women, but could not explain why, and simply turned his back when he could not refute the science and medicine in Carney's answers. The protests continued and it became clear they weren't going to be allowed into the University of Manchester building, and after about 2 hours, they decided to hold the event off campus. Looking at the faces of those who approached him and the pro-life students aggressively, Carney said he didn't feel intimidated. Rather, he saw a sadness. He said they had no idea what they were doing or what they were talking about. Looking into their eyes, he said he felt pity for them because they were being misled. There are questions about the handling of the protests by police and the university related to freedom of speech and why the protesters were allowed to prevent the event from taking place on campus. Dr. Carney remains determined to share the message of abortion pill reversal and life. He contends that this is a spiritual battle and considers opposition a sign that the pro-life movement is alive and kicking and not going anywhere. Dr. Carney said that any time he gives a presentation on APR or related issues, he concludes with the message to never get tired of doing what you know to be right. Caroline was a nurse when she began working at an abortion center before changing jobs to Planned Parenthood. There, she performed STD exams, HIV counseling, and other services, along with abortion referrals. Caroline would see the Lord's hand throughout her journey from working from Planned Parenthood to providing life-affirming care for women. Her pregnancy with her daughter was a turning point for her. Caroline was expected by Planned Parenthood to work more than her usual full-time hours and pressured about taking time off for prenatal appointments. Things got worse at work with Planned Parenthood for her when she requested to work part-time after her daughter's birth. While traveling to training for a new contraceptive implant, Caroline began to have a stronger reaction to her work at Planned Parenthood. She saw women sitting shoulder to shoulder, waiting for their abortions, and she saw the women's pain in their sullen and gray faces. Encountering the abortion doctor, she did not see health care, she said, rather, unprofessionalism, insufficient ethics, and lack of compassion and informed consent, disguised as care. Caroline knew that day her time with Planned Parenthood was over. Traveling with her manager back to their Planned Parenthood location, her manager began to discuss abortion quotas, telling Caroline, quote, "Abortions are how we make our money," end quote. She subsequently accepted a job with the local health department, and it has been 11 years since she quit from Planned Parenthood. Caroline felt called to stop being a contraception provider and pursue a more holistic and natural approach to serving women. She learned about NAPRO, or Natural Procreative Technology, and the Creighton Model Fertility Care System. She is now certified in both, teaching women about their fertility, helping to identify problems in the menstrual cycle for further medical care, and how to achieve, space, or postpone pregnancy using the Creighton model. In addition, Caroline started her own fertility care practice, and she has been a midwife apprentice for the last 2 years. She considers it a miracle how her life has changed since leaving the nation's largest abortion business. A poignant witness to the beauty of pregnancy help took place at a White House staff briefing early in November as an aide to U.S. President Donald Trump shared how her life hung in the balance because of unexpected pregnancy, with repercussions for many lives across generations. Special Assistant to the President and White House Director of Media Affairs, Sunny Joy Nelson, said she has an amazing job working at the highest level of politics, but it is only by the grace of God that she is here and able to do it. Nelson was addressing a briefing with Heartbeat International and mothers and their children, whom Heartbeat brought to Washington, D.C. for its Babies Go to Congress initiative. Heartbeat has brought more than 180 moms and babies to Capitol Hill to tell their stories in almost 400 congressional offices since Babies Go to Congress began in 2009. The mothers sharing their personal stories with their children and pregnancy help personnel at their side provides a living example of how pregnancy centers are good for America. The briefing in early November in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building was arranged by the White House Office of Public Liaison and also included Assistant to the President and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Scott Turner, and Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Director of the Office of Domestic Policy Counsel Dr. Heidi Overton. Sunny Joy Nelson shared her special tie to one of the pregnancy center representatives present with the Heartbeat Group. Her mother is Hand of Hope Pregnancy Resource Center's founder and CEO, Tanya Baker Nelson, who is taking part in Babies Go to Congress with a mom and baby served by one of her centers. Nelson's mother found herself pregnant in her early 20s, unmarried, and with the baby's father who did not want her to have the child. Nelson's father pressured her mother to choose abortion. Her mother made the courageous decision to choose life, and in the 29 years since, she has also opened 3 pregnancy centers in North Carolina. Nelson told her mother from the podium that she was a superwoman in her eyes. She also offered encouragement to the moms present and said God would bless them for choosing life because motherhood is one of the most precious gifts. Nelson also told the moms, babies, and pregnancy help personnel that their value as a human is not based on their job, income, status, or anything material. Rather, it is rooted firmly in who Jesus says that they are, and that is priceless. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Scott Turner praised Heartbeat International and the pregnancy help at the briefing. Turner shared his personal ties to pregnancy help and adoption while commending those who serve in the movement and ardently defending life. He said Heartbeat International's work in pregnancy help is important because it combats the lie that pro-life advocates are only pro-birth but not pro-life. Secretary Turner said he wished those who repeat the lies about pro-life individuals were there to meet the Babies Go to Congress group, because then they would see how wrong they are about the Heartbeat Group and the entire pro-life movement. Turner and his wife are supporters of Prestonwood Pregnancy Center in Dallas. He said that the administration sees everything that the pregnancy help movement is doing and that the movement will always have a friend and an ally in the administration. Turner shared his personal story with having an adopted sibling and adopting a sibling's child. Adoption and pregnancy help can happen because those working in pregnancy help tell women facing unexpected pregnancy that there is a better way than abortion, he said. Assistant to the President and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt delivered remarks on motherhood at the briefing and expressed gratitude for those who serve in pregnancy help. Leavitt said being a working mom was not easy, but she hoped her son would be proud of her one day, and also hoped that her example as a working mom could really serve as an example and inspiration for other young women that you can do both. She thanked the pregnancy help personnel for what they do to encourage women to bring life into the world and to have the blessing of being a mom. Leavitt thanked the Babies Go to Congress moms for what they do to be great mamas and said there's no greater job in the world. That's the news for this episode of the Pregnancy Help News Brief. All these stories and more are available to you 24/7 at pregnancyhelpnews.com. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Pregnancy Help News Brief on the Pregnancy Help Podcast. I'm Lisa Bourne. Subscribe to receive updates on future episodes.